have you ever wondered how the internet went from being this, chaotic jumble of websites to the pretty reliable, functional space that we all use every day? Well, a huge piece of that puzzle is an idea called XHTML. And today we're going to explore what it is, and maybe more importantly, the powerful concept that it represents.
You know that feeling, right? It's so frustrating. You've designed a document, maybe a presentation, or even just an email, and it looks exactly how you want it to on your screen. But then you hit send, and the person on the other end opens it up, and it's a total mess. The formatting's all wrong, things are out of place, it just doesn't work.
Well, back in the early days of the web, this wasn't just an occasional problem, it was the problem, every single day. There was no single rule book for how different browsers should read the code, so a developer could pour their heart into building a beautiful page, only to find it looked perfect in one browser and was completely broken in another. It really made building a reliable, universal web feel, well, almost impossible.
Okay, so let's get into this. To try and fix that chaos, two really different ideas emerged about what a web language should even do. It all came down to a conflict between how information should look versus what that information actually means.
So on one side, you had HTML. HTML is all about presentation. It's the language that tells a browser how to display things. Make this text bold, make that a big heading, start a new paragraph here. And on the other side, you had XML, which is all about data, about carrying information. It doesn't really care how things look, it cares about describing the information itself.
And this is where you can really see the difference in action. Look at the HTML on the left. You've just got text with some display tags. A browser sees H1 car and knows to make the word car big, but it has no idea what a Ford Mustang actually is. But now look at the XML on the right. The tags themselves describe the data. It's not just text. The code says this is the make, this is the number of seats, this is the speed. The information has structure and meaning. So the really big question became, what if you could combine the display power of HTML with the meaningful structure of XML? Well, the answer turned out to be yes, and this simple but really powerful idea was XHTML.
You can kind of think of it like a family tree, where these two powerful ideas came together. XHTML essentially took the familiar language of HTML, all those tags we know, like P for a paragraph, and it applied the strict, predictable grammar of XML right on top of them.
So here's the key takeaway. XHTML is basically just HTML, but with rules, really strict rules. It forces developers to write clean, predictable, well-structured code that any browser, anywhere, can understand in exactly the same way. It wasn't a totally new language, just a new set of standards for an old one.
So what are these magical rules that bring all this clarity? You'll be happy to know they're actually pretty simple and logical, and they are the absolute key to building a more predictable web. Okay, rule number one. Elements have to be nested perfectly. Think of them like those Russian nesting dolls. The innermost element has to be closed before the one that's wrapped around it. You can see it in the incorrect example, right? The bold tag opens inside the TD tag, but it tries to close after it. That's a no-go. The correct version closes the bold tag first, just as it should. Rule 2. Old school HTML was pretty forgiving about this, but XHTML is a stickler for case. All tags and all their attributes have to be in lowercase. A capital P tag? Nope, that's just not valid. It's a simple rule, but it forces everyone to be consistent. All right, number 3, and this one's a big one. Every tag that you open, you must close. In the old days, you could often just get away with an opening P tag for a paragraph, and the browser would figure it out. Not in XHTML. Every single element that can have content needs its matching closing tag. No exceptions.
But you might be wondering, what about elements that don't have any content inside them, like a horizontal rule, the HR tag? Well, guess what? They have to be closed too. You do this with something called a self-closing tag. You just add a space and a / right before the final bracket. It's like it opens and closes itself all in one move. And finally, rule number 5. Anytime an element has an attribute, its value has to be in quotation marks. It doesn't matter if it's text or a number. See how rows equals 3 is incorrect? It absolutely has to be rows equals 3. This just eliminates any possible confusion for the browser. So, 5 simple rules. But you might be thinking, why go to all this trouble? And that question moves us beyond just the code and into the really important idea behind XHTML. The World Wide Web Consortium, that's the W3C, the group that sets web standards, they said it best. They warned that without a common set of rules, the web was at risk of fracturing into this world of incompatible formats. where stuff only works on certain browsers or certain platforms. And a web like that, well, it doesn't really serve anyone.
Because when you have a common language, the benefits are huge. It means a website works whether you're on a computer, a phone, or using a screen reader for accessibility. It means developers only have to build one version of a site, which saves time and money. It all adds up to one crucial thing. It makes the web a shared space that works for everyone. And that really is the main takeaway here. I mean, web technology has moved on from XHTML, but the core principle it proved is more important today than ever. When we build things together, whether it's the internet or really anything else, agreeing on a common set of rules is what allows our creations to be shared, to last, and to benefit everybody.
So that leaves us with something to think about. In a world that changes so incredibly fast, what's the real value of a common language? Sometimes in our race to innovate, we can forget that the most powerful tools we have are often the ones we all agree on how to use. That shared foundation, that's what gives us the freedom to build all the amazing new things on top of it.